Battle of Minds and Muscles, Rome versus Germania. Chapter 1: The Roman Ambition. The Roman Empire, at its height, was an unstoppable juggernaut, a civilization built on military might, advanced engineering, and political acumen. From the legions of soldiers who marched across the known world to the vast network of roads and fortifications, Rome seemed invincible. The Roman army was the epitome of discipline, strategy, and organization, unrivaled by any force of its time. Yet, as vast as the empire grew, it encountered a problem on its northern frontier, the wild lands of Germania. The Germans, a loose federation of tribes spread across modern-day Germany, the Netherlands, and Scandinavia, were a far cry from the sophisticated civilizations Rome had previously subdued. Fiercely independent, their societies were based on a warrior ethos and decentralized leadership. They lived in dense forests and marshlands, with little central authority to unite them. Their culture was vastly different from the Romans, yet they posed one of the most stubborn challenges to Roman expansion. For the Romans, conquering Germania would be the ultimate test of their imperial ambition. A battle not only of military strength but of intellect, as the Romans quickly realized that their typical methods of war would be ineffective against this unique and formidable enemy. Chapter 2: The Roman Strategy and Germanic Resistance. The first significant encounter between Rome and the Germanic tribes came in 55 BCE during Julius Caesar's campaigns in Gaul. Caesar's conquest of Gaul had placed him at the edge of the Rhine, where he saw the Germans as a potential threat to the stability of his newly acquired territory. His expeditions across the Rhine, though short and tactical in nature, were a demonstration of Roman power. Caesar did not intend to conquer Germania but aimed to send a warning to the Germanic tribes and prevent any potential alliance with the Gauls. Caesar's military brilliance was evident in his quick crossings of the Rhine and his ability to strike swiftly at Germanic leaders. Yet, despite his successes, the Germanic tribes were far from subdued. Caesar's campaigns established Roman power on the river's edge but did not penetrate deep into the heart of Germania. The initial confrontations were marked by Roman superiority in terms of organization and technology, but the Germans were not easily intimidated. Their response, though initially fractured and disorganized, would evolve over the following decades into a force that would challenge Roman expansion. The Germans, though lacking the sophisticated organization of the Roman Empire, had their own strengths. They were a proud people, fiercely territorial and fiercely protective of their independence. Their societies were based on a warrior culture, and they were accustomed to fighting in dense forests and difficult terrain, where Roman tactics would be rendered less effective. The Germans understood the land they lived in far better than the Romans ever could, and this would play a crucial role in their ability to resist Roman conquest. Chapter 3: Arminius and the Unification of the Tribes. The pivotal figure in the Roman-Germanic conflict was Arminius, a chieftain of the Cherusci tribe. Arminius was born into the warrior class of the Germanic tribes and spent part of his youth in Rome as a hostage. While in Rome, he was trained in Roman military tactics, and his experience as a Roman soldier gave him deep insight into Roman strengths and weaknesses. When Arminius returned to Germania, he brought with him the knowledge of Roman military formations, weaponry, and strategies. However, unlike many Roman-trained soldiers who fought for the empire, Arminius saw Rome as a threat to his people's freedom and became determined to unite the fractured Germanic tribes against Roman expansion. The Germanic tribes were often divided by internal rivalries, but Arminius's leadership transcended these divisions. He skillfully played on the tribes' shared desire for independence from Rome, rallying them under the banner of resistance. By uniting several tribes, Arminius created a formidable coalition that posed a real challenge to Roman forces. His vision was not just to fight individual battles but to create a resistance movement that would use Roman tactics against the Romans themselves. Arminius's strategic mind, combined with his deep knowledge of Roman military tactics, made him a truly formidable adversary. His ability to unite diverse Germanic tribes, despite their historical rivalries, was a testament to his leadership and his understanding of both Roman and Germanic cultures. Chapter 4: The Battle of Teutoburg Forest, the Strategic Trap. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 9 CE would become the defining moment in the Roman-Germanic War, a brutal confrontation that demonstrated the power of strategy over brute force. General Publius Quinctilius Varus, tasked with pacifying Germania and extending Roman control, led 3 legions, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, into the heart of the Germanic territory. Arminius, with his deep understanding of Roman tactics and military psychology, led the Romans into a trap. He knew that the Romans, accustomed to open battles and well-organized formations, would be vulnerable in the dense forests of Germania. As Varus and his legions marched into the Teutoburg forest, Arminius and his coalition of tribes prepared for the ambush of a lifetime. The battle that unfolded was a disaster for the Romans. The legions, spread out and unaware of the danger, were attacked from all sides. The dense forest, with its thick canopy and swampy underbrush, severely limited the Romans' ability to use their formations effectively. Arminius and his warriors struck with lightning speed, using guerrilla tactics to confuse and disorient the Roman soldiers. The battle raged for several days, with the Romans trying to regroup and fight back, but they were overwhelmed by the relentless Germanic attacks. Arminius, with his deep understanding of Roman tactics and military psychology, led the Romans into a trap. He knew that the Romans, accustomed to open battles and well-organized formations, would be vulnerable in the dense forests of Germania. As Varus and his legions marched into the Teutoburg forest, Arminius and his coalition of tribes prepared for the ambush of a lifetime. The battle that unfolded was a disaster for the Romans. The legions, spread out and unaware of the danger, were attacked from all sides. The dense forest, with its thick canopy and swampy underbrush, severely limited the Romans' ability to use their formations effectively. Arminius and his warriors struck with lightning speed, using guerrilla tactics to confuse and disorient the Roman soldiers. The battle raged for several days, with the Romans trying to regroup and fight back, but they were overwhelmed by the relentless Germanic attacks. The result was catastrophic. Over 20,000 Roman soldiers were killed, and the legions were annihilated. The loss of 3 legions, one of the greatest defeats in Roman history, was a blow to Roman pride and military strength. Varus, realizing the magnitude of his failure, committed suicide, and the 3 legions were completely destroyed. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest marked a turning point. The Germans, under Arminius, had shown that they could defeat the Romans not just through strength, but through cunning and strategy. The Romans, accustomed to conquering and absorbing other peoples, had failed to anticipate the resilience and tactical brilliance of their Germanic foes. Chapter 5: Roman Retaliation, a Clash of Wills. Following the disaster at Teutoburg Forest, the Romans, though humiliated, were not ready to concede defeat. Emperor Augustus appointed Germanicus, the son of Drusus, to lead a campaign of vengeance against the Germanic tribes. Germanicus was a charismatic and capable commander, determined to restore Roman honor and avenge the loss of the legions. Between 14 and 16 CE, Germanicus led several campaigns deep into Germanic territory, engaging in brutal and bloody confrontations with Arminius and the Germanic tribes. Germanicus was able to win several victories, including the recapture of Roman standards lost at Teutoburg Forest, but the campaigns were marked by high casualties on both sides. The Romans, though victorious in some battles, could not decisively break the Germanic resistance. The Germanic tribes, despite being fragmented by internal disputes, held onto their spirit of resistance. Arminius, though eventually betrayed by his own people and killed in a tribal uprising, had ignited a fierce determination in his people. The Roman retaliation proved the resilience of the Germanic will. No matter how much Rome pushed back, the Germanic tribes refused to bow to imperial rule. The long, drawn-out Roman campaigns in Germania, despite some tactical victories, proved costly. The terrain, the guerrilla tactics of the Germans, and the logistical difficulties of maintaining an army in such a hostile environment took their toll. The decision was made to abandon full Roman conquest of Germania, and the Rhine River was cemented as the empire's northern boundary. Chapter 6: The Legacy of the War. The Roman-Germanic wars were a clash of minds and muscles, as both the Romans and the Germanic tribes demonstrated the power of their respective cultures. The Romans, with their disciplined legions, engineering marvels, and military tactics, had long been undefeated on the battlefield. However, the Germans proved that their knowledge of the land and their unity in resistance could overcome the might of Rome. While Rome continued to flourish for centuries, the failure to conquer Germania marked a significant limitation to Roman expansion. The Germanic tribes, though not always united, proved that they could withstand the might of Rome. Over time, the story of Arminius's victory at Teutoburg Forest became a symbol of Germanic pride and resistance, inspiring future generations to resist foreign domination. In the centuries that followed, the Germanic tribes would become key players in the eventual downfall of the Western Roman Empire. The Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths, descendants of the same tribes who had fought against Rome, would later contribute to the collapse of Roman power. The Roman-Germanic Wars, a battle of minds and muscles, had lasting consequences for the future of Europe and the rise of new civilizations. In the end, the wars between Rome and the Germanic tribes were not only about territorial conquest, but about the enduring spirit of freedom and resistance against an empire that sought to dominate all in its path. The legacy of those who fought in the forests of Germania is one of resilience, unity, and a reminder that no empire, no matter how great, can ever truly subdue the heart and soul of a people determined to protect their way of life.